Republican Congressman Tom Massey and Democratic Congressman Rokana reviewed the full documents without any redaction, and now they are very critical of some documents. The Justice Department, the Justice Department just unredacted more names tied to Jeffrey Epstein after pressure from lawmakers. Republican Congressman Tom Massey and Democratic Congressman Rokana reviewed the full documents without any redactions, and now they are very critical of some of the redactions that were made. And now the Justice Department just unredacted. The Justice Department, the Justice Department just unredacted more names tied to Jeffrey. The Justice Department just unredacted more names tied to Jeffrey Epstein after pressure from lawmakers. The Justice Department. Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there. Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted.
I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but if you guys didn't catch that. If you guys didn't catch that, they redacted Massey, and go and subscribe, like, share. Massey and Rokana, a Republican and a Democrat, have been fighting for the release of the Epstein files. They just were able to go look at some of the redacted names. You know, the Trump Justice Department has been redacting names of the perpetrators and releasing names of the victims. Nobody really knows if it's on purpose, but with the way this Justice Department is and the vindictiveness of Donald Trump, I'm sure it is on purpose. So some of the names they released are the new names: Salvatore Nora, Zurab Mikalatsi, I don't know, I can't pronounce his name. Leonid Leonov, a Russian. Nicola Caputo, Italian diplomat. These are men who violated young girls on Epstein Island or with, Epstein. Sultan Ahmed bin Suleiman, who I think is the uncle of, Jared Kushner's buddy over there, Ben Solomon, who gave him $2 billion in the last Trump regime. And Leslie Wexner, who we all knew was involved. Wexner is the owner of Victoria's Secret and that chain of retail stores. There's a bunch of other ones like, I don't know, one of the teenage girl stores. If you guys are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. So I looked up some of these guys. Sultan Ahmed bin Salman. Now these are guys who were redacted originally in the Epstein files, and Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, two American heroes, fought to get these names unredacted. Sultan Ahmed bin Salman, born 1955, Emirati. The Emirati businessman, he's the chairman and chief executive officer, CEO of DP World, and the chairman of the Ports, Customs, and Free Zone Corporation. He's involved with the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, yes. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem was born into the Sulayem family, of course, another Nepo baby like Trump and most of these guys. Born filthy rich, so it feels like they could do whatever they want. They could rape teenage girls and get away with it, and they have been getting away with it. You know, the latest stuff about Epstein is now, there's more stuff came out about his apparent suicide, where the day before he actually committed suicide in jail, the official paperwork of the prison system says that he died in jail the day before he actually died. So it was predated, which is very suspicious. And now there's a firsthand witness that has come out, a guy who worked in the prison and said very suspicious things happened the day Jeffrey Epstein supposedly killed himself. Not to mention, they have never recovered the noose that he supposedly killed himself with. And there's more evidence came out in the Epstein files about how they put they sent a car with his body out, but it was just boxes covered in a blanket, and his actual body left in another car the other way to avoid the press. Now, why would you want to hide it from the press? Was Jeffrey Epstein still alive? I mean, that's what the evidence is pointing at, that somebody in the Trump regime, maybe Trump himself, because this all happened during the first Trump administration, and we all know how closely tied Epstein and Trump are. They were best of friends in the 90s, and they did a lot of this shenanigans with young girls together. So he supposedly committed suicide in jail during the first Trump regime, right? And now the evidence is looking like he either was murdered or he was escaped from jail. He was freed, and he's living somewhere on a tropical island somewhere, enjoying his hundreds of millions of dollars. And that seems to me like a likely scenario with how close Trump and Epstein were. That Epstein is still alive and he is out, living his best life on some island in the Caribbean, or, Turks and Caicos, where these wealthy people go, something like that. Maybe even in, Asia, really far away. Maybe he had plastic surgery to change the way he looks, dyed his white hair to brown. I don't know. Hi, Trevor Flag. Yes, I'm fine. Are you okay? So that's one guy, Sultan bin Salman. Sultan Ahmed bin Salman was born into a Suleiman family, one of Dubai's business and political families active since the early 20th century. His father was a key advisor to Dubai's ruling Maktoum family. Graduated from Temple University of Philadelphia with a degree in economics. All these Arab wealthy people born into money come to the U.S. Same thing with wealthy Chinese, and get their educations here because, up till recently, we had the best education system in the world. The Trump regime is trying to take that apart piece by piece. If you guys are new, go ahead and subscribe. Bin Sulayem owns hotels on the Keels Palm Islands and a stake in a real estate brokerage company. He was awarded an honorary doctorate from Middlesex University in Dubai in 2008. His son Ahmed Sultan bin Sulayem is the chairman of the government-owned Dubai Multi-Commodity Center. Bin Suleiman and Jeffrey Epstein were in contact as early as 2007 and remained in contact long after Epstein had been convicted in 2008 of soliciting prostitution from a minor. In emails with Epstein, bin Suleiman shared his sexual experiences and appeared to send attachments of images with Epstein. On April 24, 2009, Epstein sent him an email stating, "Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video," implying that bin Salman is the sender of an alleged torture video to Epstein on February 9, 2026. Representative Thomas Massey confirmed bin Salman was the recipient of the email. So this piece of shit's torturing kids and videoing it for his own pleasure, you know? Here's the thing, when you get this wealthy, you know, billions of dollars, these guys, you know, they rule everything. So they need to get satisfaction and feed their egos in other ways. So they get into these sick, sexual, perverted torture things and all that stuff with young girls and young kids, some of them young boys, you know, and of age people, but you know, they're more turned on by it if the person who they're doing it to is not submitting and not willing to do it. Okay, so who else was named in this? Who's this Nikolai Caputo guy? Nicola Caputo. This is another guy who was a perpetrator, not a victim. Born March 4th, 1966, an Italian politician who was a member of the European Parliament from 2014 to 2019. Who was born in Teverola on in Teverola in the province of Caserta on March 4th, 1966. Caputo's political career began in the 1990s when he became Consigliere communal consigliere, and I think Italian, that's just a lawyer, for the commune of Teverola. He held at various times the position of assessor for finance and education and productive activities between 2000. Member of European Parliament. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what he was accused of in the Epstein files, but it was something notoriously bad if he was named as a perpetrator. Salvatore Nora, redacted news about electronic phenomenon. Salvatore Nora, there's not too much about him. Nora, he was a New York City policeman who was named as a perpetrator of the file. And Leslie Wexner, we all knew he was involved somehow. He was the guy, the billionaire who basically turned over his fortune and made, a Zionist, of course, but uh, he made Epstein the ward of his fortune and gave him that giant house he lived in Manhattan. That's like the most expensive house in Manhattan. You know, it takes up a whole city block. So this guy is obviously way deep in with Epstein and all that Epstein did. Hi shows 2013. How are you? Go ahead and subscribe if you're new. So Clarence Thomas, if you guys didn't know, he also turned up in the Epstein files doing some notorious bad shit in our completely corrupt Supreme Court that we're living under the thumb of right now. Polls today. Looks like a
Yeah, okay, so you know anything about Donald Trump, you know that you know presidential victory, winning voters without a college degree. Well, Donald Trump's base, the non-college voters, is absolutely collapsing. What are we talking about? Well, why don't we just take a look? One of the voters for Kamala Harris, like, over this side of the thing, what's his net approval rating of it? It's under the quarter by point that about six to help put him in the White House. Okay, so you know you see the issues drop of 23 points, right, from plus 14 Trump to now he's under more by 9 points. How is that impacting their views on how they're going to vote for Congress? When you see a difference going on here, right, take the 2024 election, Republicans won those voters, those non-college voters by 13 points. Now they're just ahead by just 1, 2, 3, 4 points. When you count on one hand, you know that you're in trouble. If you're Donald John Trump and the Republican Party, in this case, the Republican Party, when it comes to the voters of Congress, and of course, a 4-point lead of non-college voters is not anywhere close to being good enough because Democrats are dominating among voters with the college rate up by 20 points. At this point, the Democratic base of college voters is rising, and the Republican base of non-college voters is collapsing. One of the big promises, circling back to one of the big promises, President Trump bringing back manufacturing jobs, and that speaks to somewhat of this split we're kind of highlighting here. How again? What about
We've actually lost manufacturing jobs in the U.S.
Hey, how to bring back those jobs, those manufacturing jobs that were lost to free trade, right? Bringing those tariffs, restrict those jobs from moving overseas. But there's just a bit of a problem going on here. How about those manufacturing jobs in December of 2025 compared to the beginning of the Donald Trump presidency? The manufacturing jobs have gone adios amigos. See you later. They've been going away down 63,000 versus January of 2025 with an even larger collapse since Liberation Day, right? So what we're dealing with is a Donald Trump message that is not actually meeting the reality, and that is why non-college voters have been going away from the President of the United States and away from Republicans.
Thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you.
President Trump now declaring the country is in Trump economy.
5.6%. You know, if the GDP 5.6 despite a shutdown, we have 22 day shutdown. Everything. And 6.
Kevin Liptak, the White House for us morning. Kevin, what else is the president saying?
Yeah, and it is striking just to hear him now take ownership of the economy after spending most of last year laying blame directly on Joe Biden. You know, he did said at one point that he would take credit for the good part, but the bad parts were Biden's fault. Now we should note that some of the numbers that the president used here there don't comport with what the government put out. The president saying that GDP was at 5.6%. You know, the last reading that we got was third quarter of last year showed that annualized growth of 4.4%. We haven't gotten a figure for the last quarter of last year because of that government shutdown. Estimates have been much lower, although one estimate from the Atlanta Fed put the rate at 5.4%. So that could be perhaps what the president is pointing to there. I think points to this disconnect, perhaps between what the president says is the state of the economy and what most Americans feel is the state of the economy. You know, a CNN survey last month found that 55% of Americans said that President Trump's policies had worsened U.S. economic conditions. 32% said that they had 13% said that there were no effect. Now, how the president reconciles those 2 points with his view of how the economy is doing will certainly be his challenge. Very important election year. White House said that he will be hitting the road with this economic message. They at one point said that he would be out once a week, although so
Can barely walk down the staircase anymore. Look at him. Decrepit old man.
The takeaway wasn't necessarily the economy.
See that right leg kick out to the right? That's the sign he had a stroke.
The State of the Union address that's coming up in about 2 weeks' time on February 24th. But certainly, there is a recognition here at the White House that it will be the economy, and it will be the president's imperative to convince Americans that the economy is doing well. That will be sort of make or break for Republicans. It's very critical.
On the Trump economy until maybe someone decides.
So what do you guys think? GDP 5.6, is that helping you pay your rent or your mortgage or buy food? Is that helping you with any of that? What does that even mean? That means that tech companies are pumping billions of dollars into AI, AI data centers basically, but how's that helping the rest of us? It's not, is the answer you're looking for. Go ahead and subscribe, guys, if you're new. Glad you're here. So now I'm on my favorite Reddit feed. Leopards are eating your face. So MAGA voters watching Fox News. Fox News is surprised to learn from MAGA director of the FBI, Kesh Patel, that the administration won't be charging anyone related to the Epstein files. Conservative. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, I may be voting Democrat down tickets so someone charges these rapists. Yeah, remember, Kesh Patel also said that there was nobody implicated in the Epstein files other than Donald Trump 5,000 times, but I support a party that cuts social programs. Now we need to stop it from happening to my son. Governor Chloe's proposed budget cuts for FY27 and the possibility that Aiden could lose funding to attend his young adult program every day is terrifying. Please take a few minutes to contact your legislators to speak out against these budget cuts. There is a link in the post I'm sharing to let your voice be heard, and every voice makes a difference. Thank you for your support. Please read my comment. Okay. So that's Missouri's governor cutting. For those inclined to contact my workplace due to political disagreements, I wish you the best. Sadly, this happened to me today. I've severed digital ties and blocked the individual. I won't engage in further discussion regarding their actions. This person emailed screenshots of my posts to my principal and followed up with a phone call. Please refrain from harassing me due to political differences. If you find my views objectionable and decide to unfriend me, I understand. As a voter, I've supported both Democratic and Republican candidates in the past. I voted for Trump, preferring him over the alternative. I also have my reservations about Biden, but respect the office. She posted about the welcome to the land of free Brantley Gilbert, whoever that is. He voted for a racist. The racist has deported his friend. Mr. Rick, the young man from Blunt, who is a personal buddy, worked long hours on a chicken farm with me, deeper American accent than me. I too have supported our president ever since I was 14 years old, attending his first inauguration, meeting him in my hometown of Coleman, and with Senator Sessions as a teenager. There has to be a better solution than this. I support President Trump 100% of the time, but that doesn't mean I agree with him 100% of the time. Yes, it actually does. I mean, you agree with him on it. There have been several situations with illegals that I wish had ended in deportation. The young man from Blunsville is one of them. That said, this was a disaster until the Biden-Harris administration made it one. They used illegals for profiting in politics to boost population in sanctuary cities, blah, blah, bullshit. Trump is having to take extreme measures to fix their creation. If he didn't, then Democrats would be in charge of the House forever from stolen elections through the selective placement of migrants. That said, 75% of illegals I know still support President Trump to this day. If you're mad, be mad at Biden and Harris. Single issue voter for crypto learns the hard way. Yeah, crypto is a disaster right now. Any of you guys investing in crypto? I have like maybe 5% of my very small portfolio in crypto, and I'm just a holder. I don't go back and forth selling and stuff, but I mean, for now, I'm just gonna hold on to it and see what happens. What do you guys think? You guys have anything to say about that? Any crypto investors? I voted for the first time in 2020. I should vote. Crypto president. A year later, and he has destroyed. Fuck you, Trump. That shit is funny. Any of you guys crypto voters there? Tim Scott finally acknowledges this racist admin after the post last night. We had the gorilla post with the Obamas. Tim Scott wasn't happy about that. Saying it was fake because it's the most racist thing I've seen out of the White House. The president should remove it. The president is a racist, Tim Scott. He used you like he uses all minorities. Cuban tattoo. Trump finds out that Trump is going to deport Cubans. How it started, and you'll never guess how it's going. Food and AG packs, food and agriculture packs, largely supported Trump. According to one outlet Wednesday, a political action committee sponsored by farm organizations, agribusiness firms, and electric cooperatives have given nearly $27 million altogether to congressional campaigns in the 2024 campaign. AG leader warned the risk of widespread collapse of America. For disagreements in vaccines. Make America healthy again. I do think his new food pyramid is probably more accurate than the old food pyramid. Somebody who, is into, keto diet and that kind of thing. I do believe that, fats, like good fats like butter and Greek yogurt have been unnecessarily demonized in our culture. And you need those fats in your body. And, yeah, it's not good to eat steaks every day for sure. That's not a healthy way to go. But good proteins like chicken breast and that stuff, fish. I eat a lot of fish protein. Definitely good for you. And, you know, I don't believe in like oats in the morning and that kind of thing. I don't think that's good for you. Junior Pena, a Brazilian social media influencer known for openly supporting ICE, had previously reassured his followers that only crooks were targeted by immigration crackdowns. Popular MAGA influencer Junior Pena, who praised ICE and deportations, is detained and faces deportation by ICE. That is funny. Come on, you gotta admit that's funny. He didn't know he was illegal himself, or is it just delusional? A raid in a small town brings Trump's deportation into deep red Idaho. Let's see. New York Times also. Chad Neto, a Canadian youth pastor that pushed Truth Social stock, DJT, featured in the New York Times article, and leader of the original Reddit DJT and Truth Social DJT groups, just retrued this to his main profile page. I'm sorry to everyone that I told. He is and was always on their side. He and his buddies just stole billions from conservatives from DJT stock, Trump coin, and Melania coin. They stole from us and made billions, and we are all stuck with the huge loss. You all need to wake up. Our beloved president fucked us hard. We need to acknowledge this and do something about it. Once again, to all my friends, this is a conservative who pushed DJT stock. This is a hardcore MAGA guy saying this. Once again, to all my friends and family that I told to invest into DWAC DJT, I'm sorry, I didn't know he would screw us like this. You didn't? Us smart people knew Trump would screw you. Did you not look at the history of Donald Trump, how he lived his whole life screwing other people? I didn't know he would screw us like this. Most won't see this post. Y'all deleted this useless propaganda app Truth Social years ago. By the way, real Donald Trump converted to Judaism. He turned away from the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for fame and money. This will not end well. I'm sorry that I have trusted DJT with. Proof God. Oh my God, people are so stupid. I'm sorry, but MAGA are some dumb motherfuckers. If you're MAGA on here, go ahead and call me names if you want, but if you didn't know that Donald Trump was a grifter his whole life, then you didn't do your homework, which MAGA is always preaching. Do your homework, do your homework. Your homework is not getting on Facebook and looking at what your friends say and the fake articles they post from Fox News and all these right-wing grifter influencers online. Research is looking at Wikipedia, peer-reviewed stuff, actual like real articles from the past, not articles written by Joe Blow from MAGA, Idaho, or whatever. Brian Eastwood. Is that Clint Eastwood? I'd argue that there is a group of Democrats so stupid that they believe the reason it's so freaking cold in Minneapolis right now is because of ICE agents. Brian Eastwood. Washington is run by satanic demons who feast on children. Change my mind. Why is nobody really blowing up the fact that the latest Epstein files are damning? Brian Eastwood. Dan Bongino claims that people like me are using the Epstein files issue to divide the MAGA movement. No, Dan, I'm just tired of elite pedophiles being protected, and if exposing them destroys the MAGA movement, then so be it. Nice gaslighting, though. Clinton. Why does it feel like people have lost their integrity, like we should all be talking about this? Bill Clinton is without a doubt a pedophile and was. Brian Eastwood. Brian Eastwood. Anyone else? I have 4 kids, and the evidence that's getting exposed daily from the Jeffrey Epstein file is nauseating. It feels like we are hovering over the smoking gun. I sense it, but it's fleeting. It's like we are so close and yet so far away from having these bastards set to rights. I'll just lay here in silence with my thoughts and hope I drift off to sleep. Brian Eastwood. Some of you all care more about access than calling out bullshit from your own red team when you see it. Fucking trash. I still haven't heard him say anything about Trump being in there over 5,000 times. Brian Eastwood. Does this not concern anyone else? Is X censoring and suppressing Jeffrey Epstein posts? It's one of the biggest topics right now, and yet it's trending downwards. Brian Eastwood. I never thought I'd be fighting with the Conservative Party over President Trump's, Pam Bondi's, Kash Patel's, Dan Bongino's handling of the Epstein files. But here we are. This DOJ, not Biden's, redacted the pedophiles' email addresses. That includes former presidents, celebrities, and current presidents, Brian. I love how MAGA never, ever, ever pins anything on Trump. If you don't think this is a problem, you're either afraid of who it includes or sympathize with pedophiles. Either way, you need to look inward and put country over party. Brian Eastwood. The administration is losing this battle. President Trump was supposed to destroy the deep state, not join it. We are not going to move on from the Epstein files. The administration still has time to fix this. Sounds like Brian Eastwood might be leaving MAGA soon. Could be the smartest thing he ever did. You guys are new, go ahead and subscribe. They're easily duped, taking to Facebook to express regret. Shane Tomchek II, feeling stupid. Yeah, I regret my vote. I'm really paying for it now. I voted for economy change, not to become Israel. Sorry, not sorry. I support Jesus Christ, not world dominance. Never voting Republican again. I don't support a leader who wants to dictate. Shane Tomchek. Maybe it's posted for Lori Combs. I completely regret my vote for Trump. He is playing games with our lives. What happened to less government? Why are the rich getting in tax breaks and we are paying more? Why are the companies involved in lawsuits against regular people being dropped? Why are we sidestepping the Constitution? I didn't vote for all of this. Yeah, you did. If you did your homework, you would know that you voted for all of this. Go ahead and subscribe, guys. I need more subscribers. This is the real deal news coming from just a regular guy. I truly regret voting for Donald Trump because of the atrocities that have occurred due to this thing called ICE. They killed 2 Minnesotans now. I truly had no idea this was what Trump had planned. He claimed he wanted to make America great, but far from it. 2 years before his term is up before we can vote again. Not sure how to word this so others. Voting for Michael. Hey, Michael, you're stupid, but we forgive Michael? Yes. What does the Lord say? Forgive. You know, not only the Lord, but if you hold a grudge against somebody, it hurts you a lot more than it hurts them. So forgiveness is the way to go. Anything anybody's ever done to you, it hasn't killed you, just forgive them for it. Forget about it. Dan Sweat. I voted for Trump in 2024 and I wholeheartedly regret it. I was almost entirely a single issue voter on the topic of abortion. It destroyed me to think that 1/3 of my generation was lost to it for matters of convenience. Then, Trump quietly started funding Planned Parenthood again in December. I believed there would be no new wars. WW3 is on our doorstep after heavily questionable regime change in Venezuela and now Iran. I believe the Epstein files would get released. To date, we've had 1% of the files released, heavily redacted. I believed Americans would be put first. Our foreign policy is sold to the highest bidder. None of these things happened. You still trust the plan. Please tell me why and on what basis. The only thing that allows me to rejoice is the fact that Christ reigns on his throne and vengeance will be his. Cynthia Groover, October 28th, 2025. You know I voted for you and I regret my vote 100%. Not care, not, I don't know what that means, care about the people here that you work for, but you don't care for anybody. You just care about traveling around the country and building whatever you're building at the White House. I am just so disgusted with you. I wish I never voted for you. Hashtag Donald Trump. Russell Thunderhorse, January 26th. This is recently. Dear President Trump, I'm seriously starting to regret voting for you because you have a lot of nerve letting the U.S. of a federal government get away with making me suffer by changing Medicare guidelines every year. I've been living in poverty since my mom died from breast cancer almost 13 years ago, and I got enough expenses as it stands. My rent is $2,100 per month. My car insurance is $233 per month. And 87 octane fuel in the state of Florida is still as expensive as $3 per gallon. I don't need the U.S. sucking the U.S. as a just like sucking me dry of all my hard-earned money. My case of hemorrhoids is so severe that it hurts. Think this is a joke. When I sit down and the U.S. of A. federal government expects me to pay a $6 copay my hemorrhoid cream from the pharmacy and a $16 copay for my eye drops. This is exactly the reason why I strongly believe in small government and the U.S. of A. federal government needs to quit trying to dictate my life, or there's going to be hell to pay, as if there's not already economically. You can take your copays and stick them up your ass. I ain't paying no copays. I need my medicine, which used to be completely covered by my insurance. It was free up until this month. Well, Russell Thunderhorse is a little illiterate, but yeah, everybody's medical expenses are going up. I'd say the best way to fight medical expenses going up all the time is to take care of yourself, eat healthy, go for walks, go to the gym. You know, you can't count on the American medical system or healthcare system to take care of you because it's not gonna, not unless you're wealthy like Donald Trump. Megan Tucci, January 23rd. Every day I regret my vote for Trump. I didn't vote for ICE to take 5-year-olds. His name is Liam, by the way, so I'm in actual tears. That's referring to the 5-year-old kid that Trump, ICE arrested him and his dad in Minnesota and then took them to Texas and then actually was forced by a judge to let them out and just sent them out to the street in Texas with no money or no help or anything like that. That's how ICE operates. A 5-year-old kid. Gregory McDonald, 1 hour ago. Hey, President Trump, I hope this gets to you. Remember, it's still we the people. I regret voting for you as do many. So come to Ontario, California. I challenge you and only you, one-on-one. Let's go toe-to-toe for 3 rounds. I win, you are out of office. You win, you can keep dropping bombs. No Secret Service, no weapons. Do you accept or are you a pussy? He's a pussy, Gregory. So definitely not going to accept your challenge for a fight. He's never been in a fight in his life. He's always been a billionaire protected by his enablers and bodyguards. Never had a fight, so you forget about that with Donald Trump. ICE employees vent on Reddit saying they're not getting paid and still no insurance despite promises. Fuck ICE. Fact X. And Bondi says that if we prosecute everybody in the Epstein files, the whole system will collapse. Well, let it burn. Burn it down.
Thank you very much. The concentration was intense inside the judging room and out. Each juror was considered not only points, but also for their personality that they defined themselves. But it came time to 21 finalists. Also, Brad Howard,
I plead the fifth. Ghislaine Maxwell, the world's most evil bitch that trafficked women and children to the elites. She pleads the fifth because she's guilty and sees her victims as human garbage and proved this by dissolving them in sulfuric acid and by eating them. All thanks to crooked and corrupt dictator Trump. guy right here was in the trunk in the Epstein files too. Look at those fake teeth. They're still amused by everything. You guys ever watch Dave Smith Part of the Promise one? He's more right wing than me, but
Ticket like explosions and then for what could you compare this to? There's really nothing like it. I mean, even like 9/11 files or JFK.
it's a great show if you want like a right wing perspective. You know, a liberty. He's really a libertarian.
9/11 and with Kennedy, there was never any debate over whether the thing happened or not. And even then, there was never a debate over whether it was a conspiracy or not. I mean, I guess Kennedy they were claiming it was just a lone gunman, but like, there, at the very least, like this guy planning on murdering the president and then went and did it. With 9/11, it was a conspiracy no matter what way. It's just whether the conspiracy was between Osama and his men or Osama and some Saudis and maybe some other people, you know what I mean? But with this, they were kind of pretending nothing existed.
You guys are new. Go ahead and subscribe.
All this has been crazy. And the other thing is just, man, you really, I mean, I know we said this yesterday, but kind of, especially with all the new stuff we're going to get into today, it's just amazing what Thomas Massey has pulled off here. Like, single-handedly. Yeah, single-handedly, Ron Khan deserves a lot of credit too. Full of other people. But it does seem like, you know, I don't know. It's very vindicating as someone. I posted this on Twitter earlier today, but for over a decade, for like 13 years now, or whatever it is, that whenever since Ron Paul left Congress, you know, I've been saying publicly that Thomas Massey is the best congressman in the country. I'm like, man, did that take age well? Like, it is nice to just be like, okay, well, at least the guy who we do, you know, people could can give us shit because we don't get behind their politician. You know what I mean? And even if we do get behind Trump, we're criticizing him again the next day. But it's like, it's not that I just want to complain about them. You don't need to complain about Thomas Massey. You know, it's just like, and it does make you realize that just like, man, just like if we had like 300 Thomas Masseys in Congress, we could be living in a like radically different country and better country than we are today. And you know, the knock on all of our guys, you know, whether it's all the libertarian leaning or libertarian, you know, congressmen, you know, you think about Ron Paul obviously being the greatest, but whether it was Justin Amash's time in Congress or obviously we ran Paul, we got him in the Senate, and Thomas Massey in the House. And the big knock on all of them is always, Rob, that they never get anything done. You know, but it's essentially like all you guys do is complain, but you never actually get anything done, which is always to me been like such a stupid and unfair criticism because it's like, well, yeah, there's a lone guy fighting against the next awful thing that the government wants to do, but there's not enough of them to stop it. And so Ron Paul is always just sitting there going, no, don't invade Iraq. No, don't spend $3 trillion on this. No, you know, and that was true for much of Thomas Massey's career, but it's pretty crazy that, like, the guy, by the way, Rob, they can never really argue with the thing that they were opposing, you might notice. Like, nobody's ever going, Ron Paul was wrong when he said don't invade Iraq. Ron Paul was wrong when he used law. You know, Thomas Massey was wrong to force a vote on the $2 trillion COVID spending bill, or Rand Paul was wrong to claim that Fauci was lying to all of us. Like, they never even take on the issues, but it's just kind of like you're always complaining and you're never supporting the team and you never get anything done. Well, Thomas Massey has single-handedly exposed a scandal that seems right now to be about 1,000 times bigger than Watergate. Single-handedly exposed that. And within the last 24 hours,
Since me and you podcasted last way back yesterday, Thomas Massey has now exposed that the Justice Department has been violating federal law and protecting co-conspirators to their own admission. They admitted it. They've unredacted the names. Lex Wessner is a co-conspirator. Cash Patel lied to Congress. This is all. Thomas Massey just got us all this information in the last 24 hours. Pretty unbelievable. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is the Wellness Company. As some of you may know, that was one day of looking at the files. Already a pretty big admission that things were improperly redacted, and they're covering their ass, I guess, by redacting it. I think the Thomas Massey play is clever of, I'm not going to name this stuff because I'm going to try and force their name to do it. And then there was also a claim which was interesting that some of the information was redacted, I guess, before the Justice Department. Pressure being applied, and all indications are word information is not being swept under the rug and just dropped. Yeah, it seems essentially the deep state has kind of been pinned here. They don't know exactly how to get around this. And it's what happens is the more information you get, the clearer the picture becomes. And what you're starting to realize is that a lot of this seems to be that very powerful people are freaking out. They do not know how to get around this. This it makes it clear, well, this is why the Trump cover up, the whole thing was so sloppy to begin with. But so anyway. In a second here, but then they see when they go there that there's still a ton of redactions, and they go, wait a minute, why is this so redacted? And now that leads to the whole other thing that you were just bringing up. But they did see some of the redactions removed. And they saw that there was a document listing co-conspirators, the thing that Cash Patel and Dan Bongino swore didn't exist. That they had seen the files, and there were no co-conspirators. Which, look, at this point, is getting it's basically impossible to believe that anybody took a look at these files and went, nope, nobody else was involved. Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were getting these girls only for themselves. And everyone wanted to party with them. So, I think I got details wrong here. For hard drive, the FBI conveniently wiped it. Why? After he came out of being able to.
Okay, guys, so that's about an hour long. You should go watch that show. It's a good show. I can't remember the name of it, but it's Dave Smith. Part of the Problem, it's called. I watch it as much. From perspective, I'm just a liberal, snowflake, or MAGA likes to call people like me, who are, progressive Bernie Sanders